Hello, everyone. So, what if your career crashes around you? What happens when everything goes bust and you're like, this is a bad dream. I can't believe this is happening. This isn't happening. I can't even believe I'm here. Well, this is what we are going to talk about today. Welcome back to the Resilience Catalyst Show. This is Joyce Odidison, your host and Resilience Catalyst. This is where we talk about the real life matters. Today, we're diving into a conversation that many leaders hope they never have to face. Trust me, they tell me that. They're like, Joyce, I can't believe this is happening to me. I can't believe this is me. I can't believe this is my life. I can't believe I'm going through this and all the can't believe and the can't believe, and the reality is life happens and these things happens, and when they do, we have to pivot, and when we pivot, we have to have the right strategy, right? So what happens when your career takes a hit, whether through a policy violation, whether it's through a grievance, or even something as serious as sexual allegations, and you have to face the fallout? You're a leader. Just imagine you've put 20 plus years into your career. What happens when you have to face the fallout? And you know what? That is something that many leaders have to face. And I'm just going to share this in the chat and ask you, have you seen or heard of people going through that? What happens when you have to face the fallout? Because all of us at some point in our life have to go through that. And many leaders go through that and have had the privilege of supporting them through this. So we really talk about how to come back stronger, wiser, and more grounded than ever. You know, one of the things that I've done over the last 20 years as an interpersonal wellness services is being able to help people that's going through difficult conflicts, different situations in their career that they never, some of them are nightmarish, right? Behind the scenes, helping executives and professionals navigate some of the hardest moments of their careers, those moments when everything seems to fall apart. This is not about excusing the behavior. And I'm not going to say that, the person uh who is doing something wrong, we're not in any way excusing the behavior. It's about rebuilding identity, rebuilding leadership, rebuilding credibility and purpose when your professional world has shifted. The challenge is that this doesn't just happen to you, it happens to everyone around you. So when your life shifts, it shifts your family, it shifts your relationships. We've seen leaders who have gotten into those situations, and now their relationship with their partner and their significant other is greatly disrupted, because now I can't trust you. I don't know who you are. So what do you do when those things happen? What is the plan? What is the action? Do you just put your head and cry? Some leaders say to me, you know what, Joyce, I've been crying. I've been bursting in tears. I've been just crying. And I'm like, yeah, it's okay to cry. I'm good for tears. I always have a box of Kleenex in my office. I always say to my clients, tears are healing. Tears are good, but you can't stop at tears, right? You can't stop at tears. And over the last 28 years, working with CEOs, HR leaders, and executives who find themselves in crisis, some have been sent to me after complaints, some come after violating the policies, others are navigating fallouts from allegations. And by the time they get to me, their careers are hanging in the balance. And all they want to do is get the nightmare over. I want this nightmare to be over. But here's the truth: the damage doesn't just stop at work, it seeps into every part of your life. I've seen marriages break down, especially when trust is shattered. I've sat with leaders afraid of losing the respect of their adult children, because sometimes you spent decades and your kids are adult and they're that. I never forget when I had to bring a son in an investigation because his dad was alleged to have committed sexual harassment. That was so hard to do as a parent. I know we try to protect our children. We also want to maintain dignity in our children, to our children. We don't want to shatter the legacy that we have. That was the hardest thing I think I've had to do. It violated everything, my mom code, right? My parent code. It violated my parents' code. It seeps into every part of your life. I sat with leaders afraid of just violating everything they've done, losing everything they've built. I've watched them, they step down from community boards, from church leadership, from social positions they've held for years. When people they trusted and people who looked up to them avoid them now and no one want to talk to them because of a painful chapter in their story. And yet, despite all that, I've helped them rebuild not just their careers, but their sense of dignity, identity, and leadership. Because you know what? Resilience is not about avoiding failure, it's about how you're going to get back up once those failures occur. In today's episode, it's for leaders. If you feel like it's over, don't give up. For the professionals wondering if they can ever hold their head up high again, don't give up. I want you to know you can recover, you can rebuild, and you can write a new chapter. So here's how I'm going to walk you through these 5 key steps. This is what I've used to help leaders rebuild, practically powerful, and with purpose. You can do so powerfully. So we're going to go through the 5 step to reclaim your dignity and your identity, to get your career back in step and to move you to that next place. So we're going to walk through the frame that I use, and I'm going to write on the whiteboard, and we're going to start talking about how you can rebuild your life and your dignity. And these are heartbreaking topic. You're right. It is. It is so it is that I mean, I have professional women who come to my office to cry, but when I see the guys crying, and guys don't know how to cry, so it's quite beautiful. They they're bawling because they're not used to it, and then they start to feel uncomfortable just from crying, and their heart is breaking because this is not the plan they had for their career. And so this happens on every level. This happens to everyone, and it's not an isolated incident. It's not something just for certain people or happen just to certain people. So let's get out the whiteboard and let's start mapping for some of the strategies and how we're going to come back, because I have a 5 step plan, and I'm going to give you the 5 step plan that we use. Oh, did I pull you further away from the board? Ah, there we go. All right. So the 5 step plan. So what do you do when you lose everything? What do you do when everything gone? When your life is in I should be pulling this back. Here we go. There we go. There we go, Joyce. And let's come up with a plan on how we go forward from here. All right, you can see the board good now. Excellent. All right. Okay. So what we want to do is create a plan for you to move forward, for you to know that you're not stuck there. All of us are going to go through challenges in life, but it's how we overcome the challenge. Okay. So the first one we do is, well, step 1, you want to reclaim. So what do I mean by that? Joyce, what do you mean reclaim? Well, you want to reclaim your identity. You want to reclaim who you are, because usually when those things happen, people start seeing you differently, and they now start to see you as that incident. And the reality is, when something happened to us, we start to forget who we are. And when you forget who you are, those around you start to forget who you are. And I don't want you to forget who you are. I want you to remember who you are, because you are more than your circumstance. Something happens to you. You don't become what happened. You remain you. And what you need to do is pull on who you are and deep down. So you want to reclaim your identity. Let's talk about how to do that. Because reclaiming your identity is going to be a mindset shift. So you need to get up now and say to yourself, this is a journey. My life is a journey. It's a chapter. This is one incident in the chapter. Because I've had leaders who've come like, Joyce, I've built my career for 20 years. I've been faithful to my wife. I've been good. I've served my community. I've served my church. This is a one-off thing. And sometimes it's just an allegation. It's not even true, right? Sometimes there's an investigation and it's inconclusive. Those are even harder, right? Your reputation still gets a knock. People still change the way they look at you. You still get uninvited or not invited to certain things, right? So this is an incident. It is not who you are. You're a human being in crisis, and that's where growth begins. Before you take action, you have to reclaim your narrative. So the first thing you're going to do to reclaim, you're going to start stating who you are. Stating who you are. Who are you? And you have to remind your brain of who you are, because people may start seeing you as that, "Oh, I can't believe that bully," or I can't believe this person, this dishonest leader. I can't believe he or she did that. That is not where you want to focus your energy. You need to start really working on journaling, waking up every day and reclaiming who you are. Because the day before that incident, you knew who you were. This incident happened, and all of a sudden, you tend to forget who you are. And I've had many leaders, because they're not used to it. You see, there are certain types of people. There are people who are always in trouble, and they've at a point they don't care anymore what people say about them because they become hardened. And then there's those of us who are living by the straight and narrow. We do everything right, and then something happened, and our world shift, and we forget who we are. We need to stop that. Resilience is more than just bouncing back, it's about mindset. You have to tell yourself, this is an incident. This is just a pause in your path. This is happening so you can revisit who you are. And sometimes people slip. And yes, some of the clients are really guilty of doing some of these things. Yes, unfortunately. But it doesn't matter. I am not there to judge them. My goal is to help them to reclaim who they are. So there's no judgment here. It's about, where do we go from here? It doesn't matter what you go through. Transformational learning theory tells us it doesn't matter what you go through in life, is how you get back, what you learn from it. Think about, what's the growth moment here. This is a moment for you to repackage yourself. And you're going to do that. So your first step is the mindset shift to reclaim who you are. And the second step is to map out your comeback. Hmm. Map out your comeback. And I know you're going to tell me, Joyce, that is hard. And I hear that from my client. Joyce, that is hard. I'm still going through this. I'm still in shock. I'm still denying. I'm still angry. I'm still fighting this. It doesn't matter. All of that can be true at the same time, right? All of that can be true at the same time. You can still be doing all of those things while you map out your comeback, right? So you map out your comeback, because you don't want to be unprepared, or you don't want to not plan, because to fail to plan is to fail. So you're going to plan your comeback. Once you're grounded in who you are, it's time to get strategic. So mindset shift. Who am I? What am I doing? What am I about? And then we're going to map out your comeback. What does your new professional story look like? This is where we're going to use mindset to rewrite your story. But it doesn't stop there. Once you write out your story, you're going to say, where do you go from here? Because sometimes I have learned that sometimes when these bad things happen, it's a shift. It's like your universe shift and you start to see yourself differently and you start to see the world differently and you start to find new opportunities and new places and new meaning in life. And that's really important because this may be your big move. This may be happening for you, not to you. Sometimes we become so victimized when something happens. It's like, oh, I can't believe this is happening to me. This is so terrible. But yes, you're human. You're supposed to have those emotions. But don't ever forget that this may be happening for you. So remember, is this happening for you or is it happening against you? You have to decide. Once you decide to claim that this is happening for you, for your shift, for your new perspective, for your new opportunity, then we're going to really use that to map out. Because one of the things I get clients to do, really sitting here in the second step, is to identify their values. We identify your values. So, what are your values? Are they the same as the values you had prior to this happening? Because life circumstances can cause us to change our values, change the things we value, change our perspective. And this may be one of the things that are happening for you so you can change and put on the new you, step into a new identity. And yes, it's traumatic. Yes, it's hurtful. Yes, it's painful. Yes, I understand all of that. But we're not going to go and dig a hole and hide our head for the rest of our life when this may be the biggest opportunity to repackage yourself, repurpose yourself, look at your career differently, and take on a whole new packaging for yourself. So that's what we do. We look at your comeback strategy. Then we're going to look at what needs to be repaired. Sometimes we need to go back and say we're sorry, folks. That's just part of life. What needs to be repaired? We need to go back and say, I am sorry. This was just a moment. I wasn't thinking. It was offhanded. I wasn't in the right frame of mind. Sometimes, if you don't get enough sleep, you can make decisions that are out of alignment with who you are. And a lot of us do that sometimes. I had a late night last night. That's unusual for me. Midnight, not the norm, right? So I gave myself extra sleep this morning, but not everybody have that luxury to give yourself extra sleeping. So when we do that, when for me, and that's a one-off, some people have a chronic pattern of not sleeping at night, not sleeping, not getting their 8 hours of sleep. And that affects our brain. We're not thinking properly. And so you may do something on one of those days when you didn't get enough sleep, or if it's becoming of a habit, right? So you need to absolutely go back and say, repair, you need to clarify, and you need to look at what is your legacy. You need to identify your legacy. What is your legacy before? What was it before, or you think it was? And what is it going to be now? And how you're going to correct it? Because history can be very kind to us if we do our work well. History will say, oh yeah, and this happened, but he came back, or she came back, and she did after that, right? It's how we repackage, how we come back. Go back and look at the biography of many of the public figures or people we love or the stars, and you're going to see they have their down moments, this, but they did all of these things, and then this, but then they rise up. And that's what resilience is about. It's the mindset. It's about rising up. It's about being able to say, this is not where I'm going to stay. This is just a spot. This is just where I'm at right now. So you want to reclaim your legacy. And then we're going to go behind that. So that's step one. You're going to reclaim your identity, mindset, right? You're going to shift your mindset. This is the whole mindset piece. And all the bad things you want to call yourself. I'm so silly. I can't believe I did that. I was so reckless. I was this and that. No, those were all the things that happened that caused you to do that. You're going to say who you are. So you're going to reclaim your identity. Who were you before that happened? Did you think all of those things about yourself before? That's what we forget. We forget that we let incidents just cover our whole being and who we are. This is an incident. Don't forget that. Then we're going to identify your champions. Don't forget that, right? You still have the ability. So this is what you're going to be talking about. You're going to rebuild your history. This is going to be just one line in your history as we go. Now we're going to go to 3. You're going to look at your champions. Ooh, hoo. You know, the worst of people have champions. So who are your champions? Are there people who have come up to you and empathize with you? Are there people who've come up and say, man, I'm sorry you're going through this. I'm here for you. And it doesn't mean that they have to condone what you've done or tell you they're in agreement or they don't believe it or anything like that. But let's just say, I'm here for you. And I want to say that for those of you who are listening, you may listen to this at some point. If somebody is going through a hard time, it doesn't mean you have to say, hey, I agree with this. No. Championing someone is say, I'm praying for you. I'm sending positive thoughts. Hold your chin up. Get your work done. Don't give up. Who are the people saying those things to you? Those are your champions. Not everybody is the champion at the same level. There are different varying levels of champion, right? These are people who are championing you. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to help you, but they're sending a kind words. They're sending kind thoughts. But who are the people who are saying, I'm here for you? Do you need anything? How can I support you? Those are the real champions. Those are the active champions. You want to now identify your champions and you need to tap into them. Ask them, if this was happening to you, what would you do first? Tap into your champions because champions are really good. You cannot rebuild in isolation because we are a circle. We are environment. We work in network of relationships and people who still believes in you. Maybe it's not your spouse. Maybe it's not your children. Maybe they're angry at you and they're upset. But do they still believe in you? Will they help you? Who is willing to see your full story? Who's willing to be there for you after you come back? So those people who say, I'm there for you, ask them, can you support my reclaiming, my story, my comeback? This moment is the darkest in my life. And don't hide. Like people know. I mean, sometimes we hide. We think like nobody knows. Like people know there's a grapevine out there and they know what's going on. And the more you hide, the more stories they make up. So it doesn't mean you have to tell them your whole life story either. But you find your champions and you find the people who want to sit down and talk to you. Say, do you have any advice? Do you have any ideas? Now, not everybody advice is worth taking. Find yourself a coach. Find someone who help you to reclaim your identity. Find someone who can work with you, someone who can mentor you, someone who can support you, and have additional people in your champion. Because if you start listening to everybody, you're going to drive yourself crazy because everybody have an idea. But find the 1 or 2 people that you trust, that you feel that they know what they're saying and then they can help you. Those are the people you go to. And that may be in your workplace. That might be your boss. It may not be. It may be a coworker. It may be a colleague. Hey, it might be a competitor. You never know who may champion you because they may have walked their own dark road at one point and they knew what it felt like. And so they want to be there for you. So don't lose out on that opportunity. It's very possible that you have them, right? So find your champions. That's number 3. Number 4. Oh, we're going down now. I'm going to have to clear the board so you can see. So we're going to, let me put it up so you can see. I'm going to write them down so you can see. I'm going to write them over here and then my notes over here. Okay. So step 1 we talk about was to reclaim your identity. Step 2, we talk about being able to map out your comeback plan. your comeback strategy. So this is mindset. And then this is your plan, your strategy. Number 3, we said that was your champions. Identify your champions. Number 4, we're going to go to, because that's really important, is the naysayers. You got to ignore them. Ignore the naysayers. Because naysayers have one job and one job only. These are people who are very morbid. All they want to do is put you down, call your names, and discourage you. That's their job. Usually when I say to clients, I usually say, that's their job. Your job is to ignore them. Because these naysayers, that's their job. That's what they've been put here to do. They are the hecklers. They are the people who don't want to see others succeed. The loudest voices aren't always the wisest. Not everyone will support your comeback. That's okay. You must protect your mental ecosystem, because that's how you're going to stay resilient. When you learn to separate constructive criticism from destructive noise, so there is a difference. So we hear this all the time about constructive criticism, but we forget about destructive noise, right? So we hear of constructive criticism, which is good because we get constructive criticism. This is the word people are using. I don't necessarily follow that term, but we need to remember there is something as destructive noise. And who are the people who make the most destructive noise? The naysayers, because they have nothing good to add. That's their job. Do you know some people are really good at just being negative, seeing negative, thinking poorly? Have you noticed? Do you know any of those people? Do you know any of those people in your network? All they have is noise, criticism, bad things to say. And when something happens to you, when you're going through that moment, those vultures will show up, because that's their job. Honestly, I say this to clients all the time. That is their job. That is what they've been called to do. They're here to help you decide what you believe. Because if you start believing them, you come like them. You become like them. You become what we behold. It's just one of the principles of law. When you believe otherwise, you now know what you don't believe. And therefore you behold something else and you become that which you decide to be. So we have to remember, when people are saying negative things about us, when you have a critical moment, when you fall down, when you break a leg, when something happens in your career, you're going to learn a lot about people, the people around you. Oh, yes, you get to learn a lot about the people around you, because not everybody is here for you, right? Not everybody is here for you. Some people are just there to be morbid and to be hecklers and to put others down. That is not your job, is not to listen to them. And on step 5, we're going to talk about reestablishing your integrity. And this is where the work come in, reestablish. And that we call it recover. Right? So we're going to recover. We are going to recover. One of the strategies we use in our business is, and I use with my client, is we diagnose, right? Once we diagnose, we're able to intervene. Once we intervene, and that's kind of map out through this process. And everything that I do follows the same. Once we intervene, then we can stabilize, we can restore, we can reclaim, we can recover, and then we can maintain, because that's very, very important. So these all fall under that model of recovery that we use. And so you have to remember, comeback isn't just about doing work again. It really isn't. It's about doing work differently. So when you come back, you have to come back in your new way, your new you, because you're wiser. You know, one client said to me, he said, Joyce, this has opened part of my brain that wasn't open before. This has shifted my universe. I'm now aware of things that I wasn't aware of before. And that is what we want to do. That is what we want to have happen for you in this moment, is that shift, because people are going to see the new you. And often I'll have organizations reach out and say, who is this person? Is this person? We don't recognize this person. This is not the person we sent to work with you, because we're seeing somebody we really like. And this person wasn't popular around here, right? And this is the process, redefining who you are and stepping into your own identity. That is reclaiming. Once you've done the step of reclaiming your identity, this is truly reestablishing your integrity. Or if you didn't have one before, building a new one, creating the new you. That is so important, to create the whole new you. Resilience isn't just about getting back on your feet, it is so much more. And when I work with clients, no matter where they are and what they're going through, I remind them it's about becoming someone we can walk differently. Who can walk differently? You don't have to show up in your whole life the same way. It would be boring. Can you imagine being the same person you were 20, 30, 40 years ago? Have mercy. No. I love this new me, right? With more empathy, with more compassion, with more insight, with more self awareness, with more intent, more purpose, more vigor, more commitment to my values and my goals. If today feel like the lowest point in your career or in your life or in your relationship, I want you to know it doesn't have to be the end. It doesn't have to stay there. If it's the lowest point, let it be the lowest point on your way up, right? Let this be your invitation to pick yourself up, dust yourself up, dust off your career, start writing that new chapter for your legacy. Because you know what? This is exactly the opportunity that you needed. This happened for you, not to you. You're not a victim. You're able to reclaim and recover and maintain that which is yours. So I champion your success today. I champion your comeback. I champion your reestablishing your career, finding your voice, and bringing your new essence back into your workplace, into your career, into your relationship with your spouse, with your children, with your community, with your fellowship group. Standing and taking what is yours, what you deserve, taking back your dignity, taking back your legacy, and saying, yes, I know who I am. I know what I'm about. I know what I stand for. And I am owning it all the way 100%. And this is Joyce Odidison here, coming to you from the Resilience Catalyst podcast. It's been a pleasure sharing with you as we break down the actual mystery of being resilient, recognizing that there are steps and processes that we can use to simplify the process of retaking our lives when circumstances happen. I am here for you. Listen to us on the Resilience Catalyst podcast. Also, listen to us at What's Happening at Work podcast show. Join my YouTube channel here. Join me on social media. Like, share, ask questions, be involved. Join the resilience community. Our goal is to build resilience wealth. And everything we drop, every nugget, and everything I teach has been always towards building resilience wealth, because that is the only wealth that we can use. The currency of resilience is so important that we need to find out every nook and cranny, every nugget, every element of understanding how we can have more of it, how we can share more of it in our community, how we can excel in our lives, because that's how we build legacies. That's how we build communities. That's how we thrive, by understanding what makes us resilient and what takes away from a resilient. This show is sponsored by the Wiz Resilience Index. It is our foundational tool for understanding your resilience, for measuring your resilience, getting a score, getting a resilience report, and the ability to understand the elements of what make resilience up, and being able to implement that into your lives and in the lives of your family, your friends, and your community. So yes, look us up for resilience.com, where we share more, and you can get a free trial of the Resilience Index platform and be able to measure your resilience. I can't wait to see you here, see you there, or join us in the community. Start with looking us up at joyceodidison.com, and we